Good day everyone, I'm Erica Jane C. Cilino from BSED major in Mathematics. Our topic for today is all about cognitive and language development. And today I'm going to discuss to you the Piaget's cognitive development theory. So let's start. Cognitive development may be a crucial part of child's overall growth. Cognition may be a broad term that describes how we predict, listen, remember, and learn. Children are born with the flexibility to find out and develop cognitive skills. They have been likened to miniature scientists. They are always studying new ideas, deciding how things operate, and working out the way to solve issues. They are attempting to understand how the planet functions. Children don't learn passively. They actively hunt down information. When a child receives an interpreted education, several parts of their cognitive development is also impacted within the parts that follow. We all study the principles of cognitive developments at various ages. Moreover, as how these skills could hook up with an interpreted education. Let me introduce to you first who is Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget, a Swiss psychologist who thought that cognitive development occurred in stages, developed one of the most well-known theories of cognitive development. He researched children from childhood to adolescence to find out how they learn to think logically by examining children's memory processes. He aimed to document the stages of cognitive development. He essentially argues that humans, from their own knowledge of the world. He was a psychological constructivist in religious terms, believing that learning is that the results of two processes, the assimilations and accommodations. So when we say assimilation, it is the application of previous concepts in the face of new information. An example is the child who refers to a whale as a fish, while accommodation is the altering of previous concepts in the face of new information. An example is the child who discovers that some creatures living in the ocean are not fish, and correctly refers to a whale as a mammals. So both of these processes are used throughout life as the person increasingly adapt to the environment in a more complex manner. To understand a replacement notion, children must first reflect on their previous experiences to change their expectations to incorporate the new experience. This means that youngsters are constantly creating knowledge, supported new concepts leading to long-term changes. Jean Piaget was more curious about the cognitive changes that occurred over time. Jean Piaget discovers that cognitive development occurs in four stages during childhood as a result of his research. The first stage, which is sensory-motor intelligence from birth to age 2, which is in this stage, ay limited pa lang yung sensory perception ng isang bata. When we say sensory perception, ito yung mga nakikita, naririnig, naaamoy, nahawakan, nadadama ng isang bata. And the second stage, which is pre-operational thinking from ages 2 to 7 years old. In this stage ay ang isang bata ay kaya niya nang magsalita ng mga words kahit hindi pa ganun kabuo. Example dito yung word na mama and papa. And sa third stage, which is concrete operational thinking from ages 7 to 11 years old. In this stage ay ang isang bata ay aware na siya sa mga bagay na nangyayari sa paligid niya. And the fourth stage, which is formal operational thinking from age 11 onwards. In this stage ay ang isang bata ay kaya niya nang i-reflect yung sarili niya, kaya niya nang i-reflect yung mga bagay na ginagawa niya, which is alam niya na kung tama ba ito o mali ba ito. Those are the 4 stages. This form of developmental model is known as a staircase model since it combines each stage into the next. Piaget classified 4 stages of cognitive development that occurred at roughly the same age in children on this stairway.
A blessed morning to everyone. I am Reynalyn Garibay Racuya, taking Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Mathematics. After the discussion of Erica about the introduction of our topic, which is about Piaget's cognitive development theory, let us now proceed with the 4 stages of cognitive development. But in this discussion, I will only give emphasis to the first and second stage of cognitive development because later on, the next 2 stages will be tackled by another reporter. So let us first define and discuss the first stage, which is sensory motor. So sensory motor. Intelligence is measured by memory, object permanence, and beginning language and motor skills. So in this stage, this happens from birth to age 2 years old. So, in this stage, intelligence is measured by memory. So, it means na ang mga bata sa stage na ito ay nasusukat ang kanilang talino sa pamamagitan ng kanilang memorya. So, from the word itself, sense, dito lumalabas ang basic senses ng tao like sense of touch, smell, taste, and so on. So, in this stage, the child is having a realization of object. A good example of this is using a teddy bear. So, napapansin ko natin 'di ba na kapag yung mga magulang nag-aalaga ng bata, sinasabi nila sa kanilang anak na, anak, magic. So, kukuha sila ng teddy bear, then tatakpan nila ito ng kumot. So, akala ng bata ay yun na yung magic, pero na-realize niya na hindi naman nawala yung teddy bear, bagkos ay tinakpan lang ito ng kanilang nanay. So, kaya natatawag siya na permanence. So, we must remember that ang sensory motor ay pretty egocentric, meaning they perceive the world in their own point of view. Passive siya. So, we have here an example. Babies from 1 to 4 months old will wiggle their fingers, kick their legs, and suck their thumbs. These are not reflex actions. They are done intentionally for the sake of the pleasurable stimulation produced. So, di ba itong example natin, napapansin natin ito sa mga babies, which is nagagawa nila ng hindi intentional. So, di ba, napapansin natin na yung mga fingers nila wini-wiggle, yung legs nila kinikik nila, and then yung thumbs nila ay sinasak nila. So, di ba, normal ito sa mga bata. So, now after defining and discussing the first stage of cognitive development, let us now proceed to the second stage, which is pre-operational thinking. So, intelligence is measured by language and movement skills, increasing and egocentric thinking. So, this stage begins around age 2 and as a children starts to talk and lasts until approximately 7. So, during this stage, children begin to engage in symbolic play and learn to manipulate symbols. So, this stage have 3 main characteristics. So, we have here the first, the concentration or pagsentro. Second is yung static reasoning or yung pangangatwiran nila. Then third is yung irreversibility. So, during this stage, young children are able to think and about things symbolically. So, di ba yung mga bata during this stage ay nagkakaroon sila ng pag-iisip using different symbols. So, di ba mas mabilis silang nagkakaroon ng memorya or nagkakaroon ng idea about sa isang bagay using different symbols. So, their language use becomes more mature. So, by the use of the symbols, their language becomes mature as they used it. They also develop memory and imagination. So, in this stage, nadidevelop na din yung kanilang, mas nadidevelop yung kanilang memory and then yung kanilang imagination about a certain object, which allows them to understand the difference between past and future and engage in make-believe. So, sa tulong ng kanilang pagdidevelop ng memory and imagination, inaalaw nito na mas maintindihan nila yung pagkakaiba ng past and future. So, yun yung pre-operational thinking. So, next, we have here an example for pre-operational thinking. A child is able to use an object to represent something else, such as pretending a broom is a horse. So, di ba, napapansin natin ito sa mga bata ngayon na may mga bagay na akala nila yun yung nagre-represent sa isang bagay. Like, sa ating example, yung pretending a broom is a horse. So, sa pamamagitan nun, nagiging able sila na gamitin yung isang bagay para mag-represent. So, another example is, a child is pretending a stick is a sword during play. So, di ba, minsan ginagamit din nila yung stick bilang sword nila during the play. So, yun yung ginagamit nilang symbol for sword. Then, another example, imitating the way someone talks or moves. So, in this stage, nadidevelop din yung kanilang pag-i-imitate or yung panggagaya sa isang tao, kung paano ito magsalita, kung paano ito gumalaw, and so on.
Good day everyone, my name is Brenda Macy Ramos and here is the continuation of our topic about Piaget's cognitive development theory. So this is the number 3, the concrete operational thinking. So in concrete operational thinking, intelligence is more logical and systematical. So these are the ages 7 to 11 years old. So in this stage, the individuals start being logical. So, nasusort na nila or nadidetermine na nila yung mga bagay-bagay tulad ng from small, medium to large. At nagsisimula na rin sila sa mga basic mathematics. Natututo na silang mag-add, mag-minus, mag-times, mag-subtract, and divide. So, dito rin sa concrete, nabubuo ang thinking ng kanilang reversibility or law of reversibility from the word itself, reverse, no? So, meaning, halimbawa nito is pag pinindot ng bata ang switch at umilaw ito, pag pinindot niya sa kabila ay mamamatay naman. So, ganun ang example ng concrete ay sa law of reversibility. So, example of this is, a child has one friend who is rude, another friend who is also rude, and the same is true for a third friend. The child may conclude that friends are rude. So, let's take a look for this example na kung saan yung una niyang kaibigan ay rude at yung isa na naman niyang kaibigan ay rude. Pero, meron siyang pangatlong kaibigan na totoo at hindi siya rude. Pero itong batang ito, maaari siyang mag-conclude na yung pangatlong kaibigan niya at ang mga susunod niya pang magiging kaibigan ay magiging rude sa kanya. So, yun na yung thinking niya. Parang yun na yung tumatak sa utak niya na yung mga kaibigan ay hindi maganda yung ugali. Sila ay rude. So, dito sa So, nabanggit ko kanina is the law of reversibility. So, maaari din na ang mga bata ay pag nasaktan mo sila, pag sinaktan mo sila, maaaring mahalin ka pa rin nila. So, yun yung may kaibahan sa mga bata. So, meron yung mga bata na kapag sinaktan mo, ang tingin na nila sa'yo ay masama. So, pero meron din yung mga bata na kapag sinaktan mo sila, imbis na magalit sila, dahil concrete na sila at meron na silang pagkakaintindi sa mga bagay-bagay, so hindi sila magagalit sa iyo. So dito rin sa concrete operational nagsisimula ang bata sa pagdetermine ng mga conversation. Halimbawa, alam niya na mas konti ang nasa baso kesa sa nasa mangkok na sabaw. So dito sa stage na ito, nagiging inductive reasoning na sila. So, meaning sila ay inductive specific to general. Halimbawa, kumakain siya ng hopya. May isip niya na madaming hihingi sa kanya. Diba noon sa school natin, kapag meron tayong pagkain, diba? Pag nilabas ko tong pagkain na to, sigurado maraming hihingi. Diba? Yun yung thinking natin noong high school, nung mga bata pa tayo. Diba? Nasa isip natin na kaya minsan 'di ba may mga bata na pag kumakain sila, yung pagkain nila ay nakatago kasi yung thinking nila is pag nilabas nila yung pagkain nila ay mayroong mga hihingi. So, next is the formal operational thinking. So, intelligence becomes focused more on the symbols to define the abstract. So, dito sa formal operational, ages 12 years old and above. So, ano nga ba ang pinagkaiba niya sa concrete? So, ang pinagkaiba niya ay, let's quote this, no? Hindi na siya basic. Hindi na siya basic mag-isip. Kumbaga, sa tao, siya ay matured na. Hindi na isip bata. So, yan ang formal operational, no? Yun ang kaibahan niya sa concrete. So, ayon kay John Piaget, ito na daw ang huling stages ng cognitive development. So, sa stages na to, ang tao ay nagiging more rational na, nag-iisip na ng more abstract and hypothetical events. So, meaning, nag-iisip siya ng mangyayari ahead of time. So, ahead of time and before gumawa ng action. So, tatanungin niya yung sarili niya ngayon, no? If I do this ba, what would happen, no? Yun yung mga tanong niya sa sarili niya. Bago siya gumawa ng mga actions, nag-iisip na siya ng mga possible na mangyayari. So, let's take example. So, a child would think abstract and hypothetical events like they would ask, no, what would happen if I didn't study? Or another scenario is 5 years from now, would my crush likes me back or would crush back, diba? So, parang nag-iisip na sila ahead of time. So, pag hindi ba ako nag-aral, anong mangyayari sa akin? Pag, after 5 years, magkakagusto ba yung crush ko sa akin? Ganon sila mag-isip, ano? So, dito sa stage na to, ang tao ay more on deductive reasoning. Meaning, pag binigyan mo siya ng maraming ideas, kayang-kaya niya itong i-summarize into specific events. So, yan ang formal operational. So, let's take note na mature na mag-isip ang isang bata. So, yan po ang panghuling stages. So, in conclusion, Piaget's cognitive development theory aided our understanding of children's intellectual growth. So, one of the key reasons he just suggested this theory was that he was fascinated by knowledge and how youngsters and the children learn about their surroundings. So, it is also stressed the fact that the youngsters were not merely passive recipients of knowledge. So, ang mga bata, no, on the other hand, are always researching and experimenting as they get a better grasp of how the world works. So, ang mga bata po ay laging nag-experiment, lagi silang excited matuto ng mga bagay-bagay, ano, sa kanilang paglaki, mas nag-o-observe sila sa mga bagay na nakikita nila at kung ano yung na-observe nila, minsan yun yung mga ginagaya nila. So, yun yung about sa Piaget's cognitive development theory. So, thank you for watching and listening. So, God bless us all.